Hello 3Cs, and we're going to talk about the properties of parabolas today. Our goal, I know the basic properties of parabolas and can state them just by looking at the equation of a transformed parabola. And we're going to take a look at graphing these things again, even though we covered that in the last video. We're going to reinforce it again today. So talking about properties, put an extra syllable in there, properties of parabolas, and we're going to talk about them in this form. Now, what do I mean by y equals ax minus h squared plus k? Well, all parabolas already have the x and y in it, so this a, h, and k are the transformed versions of it. And I have a few to start with. It says there are 5 main properties. Actually, there are 4 that we're going to talk about. That's a little slip up. Let's take my, there we go. There are 4 main properties of parabola, and all can be picked out of the equation without having to graph the function. All can be picked out of this equation, and we're going to relate everything back to that. So the first thing we're going to do, I have a picture here of this parabola. This has been graphed on a graphing calculator, and this is what I punched into the graphing calculator. This equation here is what got punched into the graphing calculator to give me this picture. So the first thing we're going to do is relate this a, h, and k to what's in this equation. So I'm going to get my yellow highlighter again, and here is the a, and this is the h, and this is the k. Now I do want to point out one thing though, and that is that this h value has this negative in front of it, so whatever sign we see in the equation, the h actually has the opposite sign. Negatives change signs on us. So looking at this equation, our a, h, and k that we're going to fill in up here, a is -2. H, we got that 5 there, but remember we want to take the opposite because this negative messed us up, so that would have been -5. And k is +9. So there's our 3 values of a, h, and k. Now this says opening. What does it mean by opening? Well, here's what it means by opening. This is the open part of the parabola, this thing in here that I can draw that little circle around. Okay, this is the parabola opening. If you look at it, hopefully intuitively you see that this part is open and this part is kind of closed because you can't get through there. And this opens at the bottom. So we say that that opening is down. Now the vertex of this parabola, remember this is the vertex. That vertex is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back 5, and up. If we take a look up here, each of those tick marks is 1, so this is actually 9. So the vertex here is at -5, +9. So we're going to have the vertex at -5, +9. The axis of symmetry goes right down through the center of the parabola, just like that. And what we do is we label it for where it crosses the x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's at -5, 5 backwards. So the axis of symmetry, we say it's x equals -5. And max or min value, well, max means high and min means low. Now this thing's going to keep going forever in the down direction, so there is no low point. It keeps getting lower and lower and lower. So we have a high point. So if we have a high point, we mean it's maximum. So this, I'm just going to put high point here. And what is that maximum value? Well, the highest this gets to, remember when we're talking about high, we're talking about the y-axis. The highest it gets to is this 9 right at the vertex. So it has a maximum value of 9. Well, take a look at all these numbers we just put in here. We used 5s and 9, -5 and 9, -5 and 9, -5 and 9. All of these numbers are coming straight from our equation. So we're going to have a look at this again, and then we're going to generalize it. So down here, here's our next one. What are our a, h, and k here? Well, let me take my highlighter again. Here's my a, in the brackets is my h, and on the end is my k. So if we're going to fill them in, a is 1/3. H This has a -2 in the bracket, but we know it's the opposite sign, so our H is +2 and our K is -4. Now, how does this one open? Well, the big part is at the top this time, so we say that that opening is up. The vertex right down here, whoops, no, it's doing something weird again. The vertex right down at the bottom here looks like it's at 2, -4. So 2 and -4. And the axis of symmetry is this that goes right down the center of the vertex. Remember, it's symmetrical, that it has a point on either side that's the same distance away from the center. That axis of symmetry goes right through the center, and remember, we label it for what that x value is. So it goes through x equals 2. And max or min value, it's got a low point this time because it's going to keep going forever and ever up in the positive direction. So it's got a low point, so we say that that's a minimum value. And that minimum value is the lowest that this thing gets, which is that 4 below, -1, 2, 3, 4, so -4. The minimum value is -4. And again, take a look at all of this. We got the 2 and the -4, the same as the H and the K. The axis of symmetry, x equals 2, is the same as here, same as it was up here. Axis of symmetry was -5. That's the same as the H value. Max or min value, here was 9, here it's -4. That's the same as the K value if we have a look at it. Okay, so we're going to do this one more time. And this one's a little different because there's no brackets there. When I look for my A, H, and K value, well, this looks like the A. But since there's no brackets, there's no H value, and then I do have a K value on the end. So if there's no H value, here's what we're going to put. Our A value is 10, because that's way out front there. Our H value isn't there. There's no brackets, so our H value is 0, and our K value is -8. Now let's have a look at this opening. It opens up. See, the wide part is pointed up. The vertex is right here, and that's down. Well, let's test what we had here. Up here, the vertex was the same as our H value and our K value. So according to that, it would be 0 and -8. Does that look right? Let's go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like it is 0 and -8. Axis of symmetry goes right through the center of the parabola. So take a look at this one up here. Axis of symmetry went right through the center of the parabola. It was the same as the H value. So axis of symmetry, we say x equals whatever that H value is, and in this case that's 0. And our max min value, well, this has a low point. It's opening up. So when it opens up, it looks like that, and it has a low point right at the very bottom. So since it has a low point, we say it's a minimum value, and that minimum value is as low as it gets, and as low as it gets is that -8. So our minimum value is -8. Now in general, how do we know whether it opens up or down? Well, look, we had 2 that opened up and 1 that opened down. Now here's the difference. You may not have spotted this one, but the one that opened down had a -A value, and the 2 that opened up had a positive A value. And that's the way we're going to do that. The positive A values mean the parabola opens up, and the -A value means the parabola opens down. So let's fill these in. It opens, if A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it means that it has a downward opening. The vertex is always H, K, and the axis of symmetry is always x equals, up here it was the H value. The maximum is always the K value. See that? Max or minimum value. Right here, it's our K value, so we have a maximum of K if it opens up. Oops, that's backwards. I want you to switch this around here. It's going to have a maximum value if it opens down. I'll draw a tiny little picture here. Here's our tiny little picture. A maximum, it's got to look like that. It's got to have a high point. And I mixed up our maximum and our min. this should say a minimum would look like this, and that minimum is going to be the k value as well if it opens down. Okay, so you need to fix those things. Okay, let's have a look. We're going to fill in this chart just by looking at the equation. We don't have anything else to go by. So let's take a look. I'm going to use my highlighter, my A, my H, and my K. I'm going to do this on all of them. A, H, K. A, H, whoop, K is missing. A, there's no H, and K. And here there's an A, but no H or K. And here's A, H, and K. So let's have a look. Let's fill those in. Our A value here, there's just a negative out front, but we know if it's just a negative, it's actually -1. And then here's our H and our K. Now remember, the H always has the opposite sign that appears in there. So this is going to be -5 and -7. Let's just go straight down here. Look, we got A is -2, H is 1, and K is 6. And here, A is 1/3, H is, that's a -9, so we know H switches the value, so a +9, and since there's nothing on the end, K value is 0. Now this one, our A is 3. This time it's our H that's missing because we don't have any brackets. No brackets means the H is missing. So we got a 0 there, and the K is 4. Here, our A value is -1/5, and our H and our K are both missing, so they must both be 0. And our last one, our A value is -6. Our H value, there's a plus 7 in there, which means that our H value is going to be -7, and then we have -10 on the end. Okay. Now once we've got these things, then we can figure out all of the things just from these numbers, because that's what we did before. Okay, opens. We want to put either up or down in these spots here, and that all depends on our A value. If our A is negative, we're going to put down, down, up. This A is positive, it's up as well. This A is negative, it's down. And this A is negative, it's down. Now, remember, if it opens down, this is what it looks like that. Anything that opens down looks like that. Anything that opens up looks like that. Down looks like that. So these things that open down have a high point or max value. So I'm going to go and write a max in for anything that opens down. Max. And down here, max value. Anything that opens up has a low point. Okay, it looks like that, has a low point, so it has a minimum value. Now we're going to start filling in some numbers. Our vertex, remember, was H, K. So we just have to write them in like this. -5, -7. 1, 6. 9, 0. 0, 4. 0, 0. -7, -10. Now, what about our axis of symmetry? Remember the axis of symmetry we always write as x equals h because it goes right through that center of the parabola, that center x value. So this is going to be x equals h, -5, x equals 1, x equals 9, x equals 0, x equals 0, x equals -7. And remember that max min value? We already dealt with whether it's maximum or min because of the opening. And now that max min value is going to be k. So let's just fill in that k value down there. This is as high or as low as the parabola gets is the k value or the y value of its vertex. Okay, now we're going to graph these things on these below. So we're going to start, oh, and I can't see it very well here. Let's go entire page. We're going to take a look at this one first. We're going to graph the first 3 on this graph and the second 3 on this graph. So this first one, remember our vertex is our starting point, so we go back 5 and down 7. So back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there. And now this opens down. So when I move over, I have to go down. And there is no number in front of there. So this is just straight. Let's go page width here. This is just going to be over 1, down 1. Over 2, down 4, which takes us off the grid. And that's about the best I can do. So there is that first. We're going to call that parabola number 1. Even though there's no numbers on it there. Okay, let's take a look at the entire page again. The next one, our vertex is, well, let's take a look. It's at 1, 6. So we go over 1 and up 6, which is going to be right there. Now this one opens down and it's got a stretch of 2. So if you remember from the work we did yesterday, since it opens down and has a stretch of 2, let's pull this. We're going to go over 1. Used to be down 1, but now we're going to stretch that by a factor of 2. So I have to do 1 times 2, and we'll go down there. Over 2 used to be down 4. Remember 2 squared, 4? Now it has to go down double that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's good enough. Let's just graph that parabola right there. And we'll call that parabola number 2. What's the next one? This says 1/3 x minus 9. So here's our vertex at 9, 0. So 9, 0, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's no up or down, so it's right there. And it said we have a stretch factor here of 1/3. So that 1/3 means we don't go over 1 up 1 like we normally do. I just put those little reference dots there. We have to do 1/3 of what we usually do. So it's over and up 1/3. Over 2 would be up 4. Now I have to divide that by 3. And 4 divided by 3 is 1 1/3. So it's going to be right about, whoops. Oh dear, something weird happened there. There we go. All right, let's try that again. Up 1 1/3, so right here is where that's going to be. And then over 3 used to be up 9. 3 squared is 9. Now I have to divide that by 3. I have to take 1/3 of it. So it's going to be there. And that's close enough. It's going to be like this, like that. All right, next 3. This vertex is at 0, 4. We got that there, so we're going to go 0 and 4. And it says it has a stretch factor of 3, and it opens up. So we got to make sure we go over and up. And it's stretching by 3, so over used to be up 1. Remember, over 1, up 1 squared. Over 2, up 2 squared, which is 4. Over 3, up 3 squared, which is 9, and so on. This time we're going to go over 1, up 3 for that stretch factor of 3, and that's the best I can do. I'm also going to leave it at that right now. You got 2 more parabolas you can graph on here, and through the magic of this, I'm just going to put them right on. I want you to do the same thing too. Pause it and try to graph it. And we're back. Now immediately you would have had a snag with this one because it says that we're going to go back 7, down 10. And that puts us right on the edge of our grid, and then we have to stretch 6 and go in the downward direction. So it's a really long, skinny parabola that goes way off our grid. And here's the other one that was 5, and the points I'm looking for on it are over 5 used to be up 25. Now we have to go, and this is this one here, we have to go up 1/5 of what we used to do. So 1/5 of 25 is 5. So it's over 5, up 5. Okay, and we're going to leave it at that because we're getting awfully close to 20 minutes. Sorry about that. Bye.